Welcome, John. Thanks for joining us on our next episode of Who's Penny. How are you going?
Well, Damian, yourself. Thank you for having me on board today.
It's always a pleasure having a chat. Now, John, tell us a little bit about the business. You're in New South Wales and you've got your own set of circumstances, but tell us about your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So, look, we're an accounting firm. We specialise in business services area, which includes tax advice for a lot of different businesses and a lot of tax pays in different kinds of situations or tax situations as such. But we're a growing firm. We've got just under 20 staff and 2 partners in the firm, and we do some really great things when it comes to servicing clients. And we look after a whole range of clients from small little businesses up to quite large businesses at the same time.
And we were having a chat the other day, and you've been able to identify some opportunities, particularly in the New South Wales marketplace, for supporting your clients with some of the government grants. So tell us a little bit about how you've been implementing that for your clients.
Yeah, thanks. So it's an interesting one because it's coming out of pretty bad circumstances. So obviously COVID's hit a lot of businesses throughout Australia, and over the last probably 10 weeks in New South Wales, since the end of June, we've been in a sort of lockdown. So been in restrictions. So the government introduced a whole bunch of grants that would help businesses out. The difficulty is with these kind of grants is that when they introduce something so quickly, there's a lot of rules out there that need to be deciphered and done quite quickly. So we were quite quick onto these things. The rules are a bit tricky, but still manageable to get through. So we made sure that we educated our team, went through everything, called Services in New South Wales many times to clarify certain situations. And what we're able to do is then hold the hand of our clients to make sure that they can actually get the grants. The great thing about it is that there's a lot more opportunities than you sort of think. So the rules aren't generally about, they're actually called declining turnover, right? So you need to have a declining turnover to be able to get these grants. But the good thing is you don't have to have a big decline turnover for a long period of time. It's only for a set window of time, which happens to be 2 weeks. So once we get those, it seems to be quite beneficial, and we can get some decent grants to help businesses out. Even though they're not actually having an overall huge decline at the moment, a lot of businesses will still continue to have a decline going forward, right? And that's what we're sort of finding as well. Because as you know, Damian, you deal with a lot of businesses. Every business is different when it comes to their payment cycles.
Of course. I mean, some are operating, 7, 14, 30, 60, 90, 120 day. And the pain doesn't happen immediately. The pain comes down 3 or 4 months later. And I was speaking to someone else the other day. The reality about our situation is we are going into debt as a nation, and we are going to be paying it back. And if you can take advantage of some of those government grants now, then you might as well take advantage of it, because you're going to be paying it back whether you're able to access that grant or not. And I think in your situation, John, navigating that situation for the client, they would see such relief that someone else has been able to handle this for them and bringing them a little ray of sunshine, right?
Oh, absolutely. What we're actually finding is that we're quite proactive about it. So we're actually trying to call clients up and say to them, hey, there's this new grant opportunity out there. Do you want us to have a look at it for you? And a lot of clients are actually saying to me, John, I don't think I've had a decline. Business is actually going okay. But once we delve into their numbers, we actually do see a slight decline. And that slight decline might be enough to be able to get a grant. So we've had a lot of clients who have been over the moon and really happy, and they just ring us up saying, John, I can't believe you got me the grant. I didn't expect that at all. And all of a sudden, we've embraced the client, embraced the proactivity, and the client's actually loving us because they didn't think they were going to get it. They weren't going to apply themselves because they didn't think they were entitled to it. And now they've actually got this additional money that's going to help them continue with their business going forward, and hopefully continue with them a little bit longer, just in case something actually happens down the road and business does suffer. And you're sort of right, Damian, because look, at the moment, everyone's still tracking sort of the way they are. There's a lot of businesses out there, such as like if you're a restaurant, you have to close. If you're a hairdresser or a beautician, for example, a gym, travel agent, these businesses have to close and they can't sort of trade, right? But a lot of other businesses out there, whether it be online or service-based businesses, they're still doing things. But it's not necessarily saying that things are going to not slow down in the future. And look, we're getting a lot of feedback in regard to people are still doing work they signed up many months ago, but the phones have stopped ringing now, or the phones have slowed down. So as you sort of said, you've got these businesses with different kinds of terms of money received and whatever else. So even though they're getting the money now, they may not be able to, or they may not be able to get that coming in as freely in a few months' time or something. And that's what's really affected.
And it's the activity that has slowed down, which affects them down the road, that's the time that they're going to be impacted. Maybe not so now, but it's the impact of time in the future. In terms of challenges, are you seeing what other challenges are you seeing in New South Wales at the moment in terms for businesses?
Look, there's probably a lot of different challenges out there, and every business is different in their own forms of challenge. One thing that I do see at the moment is that a lot of supply issues have happened with a lot of businesses. A lot of people are talking about that. And just as a personal example, I had to change a tyre on my car the other day. And I went down to the tyre shop and the guy said, John, we can get it for you, no worries, but it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks because of shipping delays, right, to get it through. So supply issues are generally for businesses are happening. I've got another client who does kitchen renovations, and they're saying their factory, which they get the kitchens made from, are in a lockdown area, and unfortunately their staff can't come into work. So they're only on half staff at the moment. So everything's being delayed. So once again, the work might be there, but we can't deliver the services and can't do that. One of the things I always struggle with as well in these kinds of areas or these kinds of times as well is staffing, right? It's actually a real difficult time for people to leave jobs and to get a new job, right? So sometimes people are sort of working by themselves at home, struggling a little bit, for example. Even if they wanted to leave, it would be very difficult for them to start a new position because it's hard to train someone via Zoom or remotely as such. It's very, very difficult. There's all these little factors that come with the whole COVID thing or come with a lockdown thing, which are really important to look at when it comes to businesses and overall decision-making that we do.
And I'm seeing that, particularly in our business, in terms of recruiting, there isn't also the volume of movement that you would normally see in the recruitment cycle. And normally for an application, you might see, 80, 90 applications. We're only seeing 15, 20 applications where, that turnover and volume and people are looking to move. They're not necessarily looking to move as much now because of the times that are relatively uncertain, and they're wary about the way to move, the way they've got to do it, and that creates just a level of uncertainty as well for people as well.
Absolutely, it's a difficult time for all. It's a difficult time for the businesses, difficult time for employers, employees. So everyone needs to tread carefully at these times. And I think people are worried if I leave and start a new job, what happens if that business then suffers a decline and I get, usually last in, first out with a lot of businesses. So it is a difficult time. So that's what we're sort of seeing in New South Wales. It's a little bit difficult because you sort of touched on a point before about the country going into debt. Last year, during the first sort of breakout pandemic as such in March last year, we all sort of dipped for a month or two, and then everyone sort of went back up to record levels, and they actually released a report only recently saying that, JobKeeper actually help businesses make further profits sometimes, so it's a difficult situation. It's very difficult for any government to, see that's going to come or not going to come or anticipate that kind of thing. But this time it's a little bit different. So a lot of businesses who were, doing quite well, this time I feel as though it's going to hurt. We're into a bit more bigger debt. A lot of the states are sort of arguing about when to open. There's a balance between, do we, open up while still got the health issue, or do we open up to save the economy, because that by itself is going to cause a different kind of issue. So look, difficult problems always, but now it's up to the businesses to be able to navigate their way of how they can be really efficient in what they do, tighten up a little bit on a few different things, but then go out there and still do the business they're going to do and service the clients they're going to have to service.
Absolutely. And John, on a lighter note, and how I'd like to always wrap up our Who's Penny episodes, now tell me, do you have a useless talent?
Oh, I've probably got many useless talents, to be honest, Damian. My kids always say that I've got a lot of useless talents. Probably one of those is dad jokes. But look, I've got a useless talent. Because I've been working with tax and GST and everything for a long time, I can actually probably divide a lot of numbers by 11 off the top of my head very, very quickly.
Very good.
Right. Very, very useless talent.
And what about an old trend that you'd like to come back?
I think an old trend that we'd like to come back is probably travel, right? I think that everyone's it's not an old trend, but it feels like it's been a long time since we've been able to actually travel and go somewhere. So I think that's probably something that we want to come back very soon. And it'll be like brand new again, and people can go on holidays and do a few things. And I'd love to come down to Melbourne and see a few things down there as well. But let's see how we go with the state borders closing and opening up and all the fun things that we expect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, John, very much. It's been a pleasure having you, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Damian, thank you very much for having me on board and for hearing my insights on a few of your questions. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks.